Okay, YouTubers, space detectives and armchair astronauts, this is Joe from ArtAlienTV. Now, today I've got 3 Gigapans to show you. Now, one of these is an older one, this one here. This one is one I recently uploaded only earlier today. And this is also one here from the Perseverance rover, brand new, which I also uploaded only last night early this morning, okay? And what we have here are different examples of glyphs on Mars. Now, these are all different sizes. We have everything from, on this one, large graffiti style glyphs or writing. Now, let me show you this first and then we can compare the others to this, because this is an older find which I published a couple of years ago and did quite well actually, this video. And there are links to the video here on the page. What I'll do with all these things as well is I'll put clips in at the end, as I always do. In the last 2 minutes of the video, there'll be clips of all these things so you can look at them properly, take screenshots if you'd like, but you can also come to these Gigapans and take image clips and everything else. So follow the links in the description. There'll be links to all these Gigapans I'm showing you, as well as my main page and the latest Gigapans as well, so you can check out the very latest stuff. Because there's loads of new Gigapans from the Perseverance rover as well as the Curiosity rover. Okay, so check the links out and follow those, and they will link to the videos and clips as well. Okay, and this is the one I did a couple of years ago. Now, this isn't something I found. This was something found by Neville Thompson, who's one of the Gigapan guys, the main man really. And I'll show you a close-up of it here. Right now, this is the base of Mount Sharp. We have this mound, this rocky mound here, which looks really odd. It's at a funny angle. And we have on the side of it here, you can just about make out some graffiti. Now, these letters are approximately somewhere between 20 and 60 or so feet high. I estimate around 50, they may be 40, I don't know exactly. They're very large and quite prominent on the landscape or in the landscape. In other words, these will be seen from a long distance away. Now, when you look at the original images here, now unfortunately the original images are not in colour, they're in black and white, and they're very pasty. But there's lots of images of this area. They took multiple shots of this. And we got the base of Mount Sharp here, and the rover's taken this image probably from about a mile away and zoomed in to this area, so that the actual image sharpness and focus isn't great. Okay, because this is taken from quite a long distance away. And we're zooming in to this mound here, and you can just about make out these letters. One looks like an H here, there's a V shape or an N shape, there's one there like a U, there's one here, there's one a bit like a J and an H or something similar on the end there. Now, I'm not saying that's what those letters represent, I'm just comparing them to letters that I know and that we know, just to give you an idea of the shapes we're looking at, okay? There's another enhancement down here, which I think is slightly better in some ways, because I've done it in a sort of blue filter, and you can see them a bit more clearly if you don't get too close. You can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's at least 11, but there's probably more than that. The ones at either end are obscured, so they're not very clear, but the clearer ones are here towards the right side here. It looks like a J and an N or something. The weird thing about these letters, these large graffiti style letters on this mountainside, the weird thing about this is that this may indicate that there was a subculture on Mars that were maybe protesting, or maybe they were a youth culture, much like we have on Earth, where we have people like Banksy, artists like Banksy, who comes from Bristol, where I live, and I've met him once or twice actually, and I know people that work for him, and basically that's like a youth culture, but it's kind of an artistic culture which goes against the establishment, so it's anti-establishment kind of art. You could call it protest art or graffiti, it depends what you want to call it, but basically that may mean that they had a similar culture on Mars, where you had a youth culture or subculture of artists who were spraying graffiti and protesting against various things that may have been going on, okay? Because this doesn't look like it was done in a sort of controlled and timely manner. This looks like it was scrawled on the side of this mountain in a bit of a hurry. It's very scruffy, it's uneven, and the letters are a bit kind of what I would call scruffy or untidy. In other words, it looks like it was done almost like it was done with a spray can. I'm not saying it was done with a spray can. What I'm saying is it looks like it was done in a hurry, like graffiti often is, okay? And not carefully carved and planned out in a sort of artistic and detailed manner, okay? That's what it looks like to me. But I could be wrong. This may just be the style they have, or the way the language is written. I don't know. So I'll come back to that and show you some more clips of that at the end anyway. So you can check this out. What I've done here is I've got a colour version here in the middle. You can see the letters here on the mountain, just there. They're not very clear, but they're there, right? In fact, you can see a few more in the end there. If you go too dark, some of them start to disappear if you go too dark with this stuff. But I did do a negative selection here, a negative filter, to show them in neg, where you can actually see them quite clearly. You can see that J and the H-shaped one on the end there, but still not that clear. So, I mean, it's one of those things where you know what it is, even though it's not very clear, because once you add all the contrast into the image, like I've done here, I added loads of contrast in there and then colour filtered it. Once you do that, it really stands out. So it's definitely there. The question is it kind of subculture style graffiti that we're looking at here, suggesting there was an actual artistic subculture in Jezero Crater on Mars in this area that may have been protesting against the regime that was there thousands of years ago, whenever it was, okay? That's an interesting concept to think about, because so far most of the art I've shown you has been highly organised, what I would call establishment art. In other words, things like statues and figurines, things like burial figurines and statues, and the huge statues at the base of Mount Sharp, which look like they were carved of probably leaders of some sort, political leaders or kings or emperors, that kind of thing, okay? And a lot of the smaller ones even that I've shown look like important people, like possibly priests or politicians or warriors, that kind of thing. Okay, so that is what I would call establishment art, and this may be an example of anti-establishment art, which is very interesting. Okay, so then there was this one. Now this is a really recent Gigapan. Now I have shown this area before, but not from this particular view. But I have shown it from further over to the right here, and I was saying months and months ago, I think late last year or middle last year, that I'm hoping we get further down this end of the mountain and see more of this stuff down here, and that's what we've got today. This is quite a recent one. This is Sol 3172. This is the Curiosity rover, Mount Sharp again. Okay, so this is along the same area as that I just showed you here, along the same base of Mount Sharp. If you follow along to the left here and go about 2 miles or 1.5 miles or 2 miles, you'll end up where we are now, here. And that's kind of what the rover's done. It's driven all the way along the edge, along the bottom of Mount Sharp here, and we have all these so-called buttes here, which are actually structures, some of them. And some of them have giant carvings on them, like this one here, but we can't see all of that. I'll put a clip of that in. This is what I call the Ares head, or Ares portrait, a giant portrait, which is about 100 feet tall, somewhere between 60 and 100 feet tall, something like that. Could be even bigger. And we have these strange mounds or buttes, which are artificial. This one is not natural. We've got a structure here on the edge of that one, like a rectangular structure there. We got this one here. This is where the emperor statue is carved on there, but you can't see it very well in this one because we're too far away. You can see his head just there, right? The emperor, that's the one with the beard, the giant one with the beard. There's a weird thing on this so-called butte here, which looks very odd, which may also be an eroded statue or portrait or something very strange. Not really sure what it is. But then we have this mound here. Now this is the one I've been talking about for months and months. And we've finally got a close-up of it, or a reasonable close-up, and you can see that there are giant glyphs on the side of this, at least 3, maybe 4 or 5. But we got what looks a bit like an F here, a number 5 there, and a Y there, or something equivalent of in shape, if you get what I mean. I'm not saying that's what they are, I'm just saying that's what they resemble to me. And we've also got some weird stuff at the top there, but I think that a lot of this is where the rock's kind of fallen away and it's cracked and leaving these weird shapes. But these look actually like glyphs, giant glyphs. Now these, I will also say, are probably over 50 feet high. These may be 100 or something. So similar in scale to that graffiti that I just showed you. Okay, same area, well, about 1.5 miles down the road, or down along the bottom of Mount Sharp, along the lake bed, where the water used to be, where the marina used to be, where all the boats used to be. Okay, you go along here, and then we have these large, what look like numbers. And I've got a clip here on the actual Gigapan, so you can check out the enhanced clip. Color filtered here. It does help if you colour filter these sometimes. Sometimes I either go blue or sort of brownish colour. And I've added a whole bunch of contrast to this so that they stand out a bit more. And you can see this F, or even an E. It could even be an E shape there, like that. So it comes down to there. You've got the 5 with a weird blob or a circular figure underneath it. And a sort of like a Y, okay? Like a Y there, or some similar kind of shaped number or letter, okay? So that could be an E or an F or a 5 or an S, or who knows what they mean. I'm not saying I know what they mean, I'm just saying that's what they resemble. So these are also very, very large, okay? Really big. Because this is a long, long way off, even though that it doesn't look that far away. The rover is right back here, down here, and they're zoomed in to the base of Mount Sharp, and is looking right along this ridge line here at the bottom. Okay, now this ridge line is probably about 30 feet, okay, in height, 30 or 40 feet at the highest point there, maybe. Okay, and then behind that, now the distance between this ridge line here and this mound, or so-called butte, which is artificial, you can see it's artificial here. Got these strange zigzag lines here, and these big letters or numbers on the side. Now this is probably another whole kilometre away from this ridgeline, right? So we got the ridgeline here, just here, and then you go back another kilometre, and then we have this. It's very deceptive. These things are absolutely huge, and this area is very, very large indeed. And if you study some of the actual Mount Sharp images from space, like I have, and also look at some of the scale diagrams they've got, it's astonishing how big this area is, okay? And when you see it from this sort of view, it doesn't look that big, but it is. It's very, very big. Because the slopes are gradual, it doesn't look very high, but these are only the lower slopes of Mount Sharp, okay? This thing goes right up, okay? We're only really looking at the base area. This thing here is about 1 kilometre back. The ridge behind that, where we got this line, that's probably another kilometre behind that. So we're looking at an area distance here from where we are, if we're the rover. This butte thing is probably about 2 kilometres away. Okay, and this is probably about 3 or 4 up here, right? So it's a long way off, and they still look really large, okay? Unlike with this one is about only a mile away from the rover, but the actual viewpoint is zoomed in to about half a mile or quarter of a mile, somewhere like that. So this is much lower down, and these are probably nearer to sort of 30 or 40 feet in the height, whereas the ones on this one are further away, but they still look about the same size. So these are probably more like 100 feet in size, I would say, 80 maybe. Okay, so they're a lot further away, but they're still big. So that's just an approximation. So there we are. So that was that one. And then we have this brand new find, which one is one I just posted on the ArtAlienTV Mars magazine. This is really interesting. Now, this one here is on a rock, and is much, much smaller than those I just showed you. And it's basically about 50 feet away from the rover, we have the rover down here, off camera, down here, and about 50 feet in the middle of this pan, which is Percy, or Perseverance Sol 145, mass left, raw. It's not been enhanced in any way, this image. We have this large rock which dominates the whole area with a very strange sort of diamond or triangular shaped sort of part to it here. And when you look carefully in here, you can actually see some geometric glyphs or carved geometric shapes and patterns, either like writing or some kind of artwork. Okay, so when you look at this one up close, what you need to do, if you haven't got this already, I do recommend that you get this magnifier. It's called Hover Zoom Magnifier. Okay, it's called Magnifying Glass Hover Zoom, and you can get it for Chrome, you can get it for Firefox, you get it for pretty much any browser. It's totally free. Just look it up, and it just attaches to your browser. Okay, you can actually see in here. Now it's not very clear because this is a raw image. It's on a bright day, and the images are very bright, these, so you can't see it very well, but there's actually in here some interesting geometrical shapes and patterns, okay? And not only that, this is a very strange rock, this, and I'm not sure it's entirely natural, okay? So I've got a clip of that. I've done a meme of it, which is the one I put up on Mars Magazine just yesterday or the day before. And I've got the raw clip here at the bottom, and you can just about make out here, even in the raw clip, you can make out these lines. There's one here, there's some here, there's some diagonal lines here, and some sort of stuff here, okay? It's not very clear, right? And you can't see it very well until you actually darken it and color correct it a bit. What you need to do is add lots of contrast, like I've done up here. Now this was, the first thing I always do is I color correct it. Now what I do is a thing called color balance, okay? I'll just show you what I do. Automatic color balance, right? And I usually set it near sunlight, towards sunlight there, okay? And that makes things go bluer, which is what this is, okay? And that generally helps. And also we know a lot of these rocks are actually blue because we've seen from multiple other parts of Mars that most of these rocks are. And you can also see some of the larger ones from space and they're blue, okay? You can actually see these patterns here. We've got what looks like a 4 or something there, and some other one here, and we've got these weird patterns in here which are kind of like glyphs or writing or something here, okay? Now what I've done is I've taken a clip of that and then gone much darker with it here so you can see it even better, but it's still not very clear. This rock's probably been here a million years. I don't know. It could be 10,000, it could be 100,000. It could be any of those. It's eroded and worn away. So this at one point would have been much more prominent, I would imagine. And what we're seeing here is erosion that's kind of sandblasted it off, really. So this was carved into the rock, it looks like, and has just eroded away. But you can still see it if you push the contrast. And you can see it a bit better here. We've got this kind of V shape. These are quite straight lines as well. I'm trying to draw straight here. We've got these straight and diagonal parts and these sort of figures up here. It's really odd. Now, I don't really know what to compare this to, but if you look carefully in this, what I'll do, let's get rid of that. If you look carefully at this here, it looks like this pattern goes right up into the rock, up to the top. I've only highlighted part of it here, and it actually goes right up, and there seems to be some kind of design that's in the rock, and it goes right up to here. And this thing here in itself is very strange. This kind of weird diamond shape object, which is kind of stuck on the side of it. This is very odd. And if you look even in the raw image here, you can see it looks like it's kind of stuck on this thing here, because we got this kind of part underneath, and it kind of comes up like that. And we got this weird point to it here. It's really odd. It doesn't make any sense. So I'm guessing this is some kind of marker or something. I don't know. It could be a grave marker, but if we go darker, it might actually come out more if I go really nice and dark and really push that for you. There we are. Now you can see the stuff a bit better here in this area. You can see these lines here. And a lot of these are parallel lines, okay? They're not just random patterns in the actual rock. These look to me like actual glyphs that were carved into it. This could be a grave marker, I don't know. It could even be a navigational marker, like a milestone or something. But this rock on the side of it, this kind of weird badge-like thing, is very odd because it seems to have, when you darken it, you can see it's got 2 eyes, 2 nostrils here, and it's even got teeth, this thing. It's really, really strange. Let me show you that. I'll go back. There we are. If you look really carefully in here, you can make out this thing that looks like it's got teeth here. Like that. And nostrils here. And 2 eyes. But it's very pale. And it's not till you really darken this up, those details start to come out. So, is this some kind of weird marker or something? There seems to be overlapping detail in here. What it kind of reminded me of is like a sort of almost like a sort of diagram like you would get of the underground in London, where you have an underground map, but it's done in these sort of weird diagonal lines. If you look at it, I'll get a clip in a second and show you what I mean. This looks like one of these technical underground maps like you get in the underground in London, and that style of map was then copied by all the other countries around the world to use as a standard means of showing an underground map with colour coding. So you've got the green, the red, and the blue, and the different lines and stuff. You know, like the central line and all the other stuff, northern line, everything else, and they're all colour coded, but they're in a sort of pattern like this, with sort of diagonals, and they all sort of go across each other. And there's one that might go this way, and then there's one going that way, and then another one. It's like that. I'll get an example, and I'll put a clip in now for you. So that's what it kind of reminded me of. I'm not saying it is a map, but I'm saying it looks like some kind of inscription, which may represent writing or artwork or some kind of map or something, or a diagram even. I don't know. But there's something there. And let's go darker again. Let's go really dark. And really push it. Now you can really see those shapes coming out. These diagonal and sort of V shapes and stuff in there. It's not very clear. Let's go to negative. Let's see what that does. Color balance negative. You can kind of see them. Let's go darker again. If you play around with negative and contrast, you can really push things out sometimes. There, you can kind of see them there. Not very clear, but they're there, and I don't know what they represent, but they're very interesting, and it's interesting to compare these, which kind of look a bit like numbers in a row here, like a 4 and a 4, maybe a 5 or an S or something, but you've got these weird like V shapes and symmetrical parts, and this kind of straight line here. But what's weird is if you look really carefully, some of these overlap each other a bit like a sort of Celtic knot, where you have parts going under and over each other like a knot, okay, like this, and then you've got parts going behind that, okay, and parts going over. So it's like an interwoven sort of, almost like a Celtic pattern, but it's not a Celtic design, obviously, but it has similarities in the way it's been carved. It looks very interesting. There will be more of these coming up in the next few days. I've been reluctant to do any longer videos recently. It's been very, very hot here in the UK, in Bristol, and my computer's been shutting itself down. It's been overheating. In fact, it's so hot now I could probably fry an egg on it. So I'm going to call it a day now before it overheats and shuts this video down, okay? But I will put clips of these all in at the end for you to check out, and you can take your own clips and look at the Gigapans yourself. And if you take a clip of this one, like I said, all you need to do is take a clip, rectangular clip of that, colour correct it first to make it go a bit bluer, and then crank up the contrast, and then this will all pop out for you. I absolutely guarantee that you will see some of this. And the weird thing about this thing, initially I thought it was some kind of animal. This looks like an animal's nose here at the front. Now, is that a coincidence? I don't know. But it's got this kind of weird detail here. Let's get rid of that. Okay. Now, if you look really carefully in here, even in the raw clip, you've got what looks like a nose here, right? This looks a bit like a hedgehog or some kind of weird hog-like animal, right? And in the enhanced clip, if you look really carefully, you can actually see what looks like a mouth here with a tooth sticking down there. And if you look really carefully again, there appears to be an eye here and one there. Okay? Really, really strange, but it's vague. If you play with the contrast and play enough with this image, you might be able to drag those details out. I haven't really pushed them out. I've just done a basic sort of enhancement like I normally do. But you can see those details in this weird diamond thing here, like this badge thing on the side of this. Very strange. Really weird. It almost looks like it was attached here, like a badge. Very, very strange, okay? So anyway, there we are, that was it. I mean, this is very strange. We've got different types of glyphs here. We've got symmetrical, almost sort of symmetrical kind of underground station style map shapes here. Diamonds and diagonals in this one. And with the graffiti, we've got these what look like huge numbers or letters. These are probably about 80 or 80 plus feet tall here. This one looks like a 5. But there's another thing below it there, which I'm trying to draw around carefully. Let's do that again. It's like a little circle. And then we have this thing here, which is kind of like a Y and an S joined together, like that. Interesting. And there may even be a little tail on this one, I'm not sure. Really interesting. So if you're from other parts of the world that don't use the English alphabet, you may find these a bit more familiar than I am, because they're really interesting, okay? And good examples of what I would call alien or Martian glyphs, okay? And there are other examples that other people have found as well. I'll put a few clips of those in at the end as well. There's some really nice ones, much smaller than this, but they're quite clear, with numbers and letters as well. And some of these are looking quite common, like that number 5 and F shape have turned up before in other ones, okay? And I'll put clips of that in as well. So pay attention to these, because these are clear, much clearer than the others. And the other images I'm going to show you have similar, very similar shaped numbers or letters on them. So like I said, pay attention to the images coming up now, because I'll put some clips of some of the other examples of letters, numbers and glyphs and such like in coming up now. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you soon.